given.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Chairman, I'm going to take a short call on this short title. The short title is entirely appropriate for the bill, and I want to respond briefly to the contribution that was made by Grant Robertson, because it can be broadly summarised as an opposition that is desperately exploring for some reason to oppose, rather than any sort of principled stand around this being legislation. In fact, the member acknowledged that this is good legislation, that this is a bill that is overdue. I would take the opposition back to the fact that the gap in New Zealand's environmental regime that this economic zone and continental shelf environmental effects bill was identified way back in 2000. And Labor made no progress in getting a bill before the House in their 9 years in government, and we have made good progress and have got a robust piece of legislation to bring into effect, and with this provision, Mr Chairman, through to being fully implemented by the period of 1st of July 2014. I do want to point out that when this bill was introduced, Labor said they had two major concerns: inconsistencies with the RMA penalties not being strong enough. The government works and addresses those two concerns, and Labor still says it opposes. And that is, in my view, just exposes how vacant the Labor opposition's true opposition to this bill is. They are simply dancing on the head of a pin. If the government then addressed their latest range of pedantic excuses, I'm sure they'd find some other set. Let me just take the point that Mr Robertson made, is that he objects to the relatively short, I have to say, SOP that's been introduced by Amy Adams. I'd remind members of the House that 4 weeks prior to the 2008 general election, on another very important piece of environmental legislation, the ETS bill, the Labor government of the day introduced an 800-page SOP. They didn't refer that back to the Select Committee at that time, yet today demand this relatively short SOP. Suddenly it has to go back to a Select Committee, and we don't accept that on this side of the House. We say that's grossly inconsistent. These say that the provisions that were, and the member said that they've only been available for 2 days. Actually, it says on the date, the 14th of August, and that is a great deal more than 2 days ago. In fact, it's more like 8 days that members have had to study this OP and see. Well, it's a very short SOP, I would say, to the member that's interjecting, and they are technical changes to the provision. They make the bill stronger, and I would simply urge the Parliament, as has been urged by the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, to get on, support and pass this good legislation so that we can get this proper piece of environmental effects assessment legislation into place, so the EPA can get on with this important new area of work.
Members, the last votes on the Minister's amendments on SOP 100 and Part 4 were incorrectly announced. The result should have been ayes 72, noes 46. The record will show the correct results. I call Eugenie Sage.
Thank you, Mr Chair.